Meseches Bava Kamma Daf Lamed Gimel concludes the Gemara's discussion about somebody who went into someone else's rishus with permission and then got injured. The Gemara has one final case in that subject. Then we'll have two Mishnayos introducing the topic of two oxen who damage each other, having moved on from people who crash into each other. We now have oxen who attack each other and how we split the payments between their owners. So the Gemara begins with a brisa that says that if workers came to collect money from their employer and they came to the person's house, and while they were entering his house, they were attacked by the man's ox or by his dog who gored or bit them. So the halacha is that it's a machlokes between the Bava Kamma and a cherim as to whether or not the balabais, the employer, has to pay them. According to the Bava Kamma, the balabais is patur, does not have to pay them. According to the cherim, he's chayiv and he does have to pay them. Now the Gemara wants to know, did they have permission to be there or not? If they didn't have permission to be there, and that would be because they could have gone over to the employer in the town, didn't have to go to his house because he's common in the town, then why would anybody say that the balabais should be chayiv? And if they did have to go there because there's the employer spends all his time at his house, they wouldn't have been able to collect from him in the city, then why would anybody say that he's patur? They obviously have to go there to collect. So the Gemara answers, he's common and he's not common, he goes here and he doesn't go there. And they came and they asked permission, they stood at the gate and they said, is the owner here? Are we allowed to come in or not? And he answered them, yes. And the question is, what does the term yes means? Yes means stay where you are and I'm coming to you, or yes means come inside. So that's what this machlokes is about. So the Gemara says we could bring a proof. The Gemara quotes a brisa that again has this exact case, and it says that if the worker comes into the owner's rishus and he's gored or he's bit by the ox or by the dog, he's patur, even though he comes in with permission. It doesn't mean he's patur if he comes with permission. What does that mean? Obviously, it means that the case is where he stood at the fence and he called, and the man said yes. And clearly, therefore, this brisa is saying that the halacha is that means stay where you are, because he was saying to them yes, and they were supposed to stay there, and therefore he's patur from having to pay them. Now begin the next Mishnah. This one discusses when you have a mutual damage. Let's say you have two oxen that were in a fight, or two people that were in a fight, or an ox and a person that were in a fight, and they each caused the damage to each other. So the rule in all of these is you evaluate the damage that they each caused each other, and whichever one caused more damage has to pay however much his damage was more than the other ones. Now, whether he was a tam or a mud makes a difference. So if you have a tam against the tam, so you evaluate it, and however much the difference between the damages is, that he has to pay half. If a mud against a mud, he has to pay whole. If you have a tam and a mud, so then if the mud is more than the tam, he has to pay the entire difference. If the tam is more than the mud, he has to pay half the difference. Now, a person is a mud, so he would have the same halacha. If it's a person against a person, has to pay the whole difference. If it's a person against a muad, he has to pay the whole difference, whichever one it is. If it's a person against a tam, the person pays the whole difference. And the tam, now you have a machlokes. So the tam should pay half the difference. And Kiva says a tam who gores a person pays nezuk shalom right away. And therefore he would pay the whole difference even though he's a tam. Now begin the Gemara, which focuses on this machlokes. What is the source of the machlokes? Rabbanan Rabbi Kiva as to whether or not a tam who's chayvel, who attacks a person, pays nezuk shalom or chatzi nezek. So it focuses on the pasuk right after the halachos of first a tam and then a mud. It brings the halacha of an ox that gores a person, and it says kamish barazeh ya'asalai, like these halachos should do to him, meaning that the halachos of the ox against an ox is the halachos of an ox against a person. So the Rabbanan say the halachos of the ox against the ox is the halachos of the ox against a person, all the halachos. A tam pays chatzi nezek, and a mud pays nezek shalom. So Rabbi Kiva knows, referring to the most recent halacha, not the previous halacha. So referring to the halacha of the mud, not referring to the halacha of the tam that's before. It says this last halacha of mud, that applies to a person, and that's in all circumstances. He's always a mud. There is no halacha of tam. Now, a tam in a case of an ox is also limited to migufay. Rabbi Kiva agrees that this is only when a tam gores a person, even though he pays nezek shalom, it's only migufay, meaning it's only from the value of the ox itself, not from the rest of the property of his owner. So where does he see that? If he's learning it has the halachas of a mud, it should have the halachas of a mud in all ways. Why does it have a different halacha as far as the fact that it pays migufay, not min aliyah? So the Gemara says that's because it says yas eloi, it should do for him, meaning you do to its gufay, the ox itself, not to any other property that you have. So the Rabbanan, what do they do with this? It says this din, meaning only the last din. Or says that's a teach that you only have this halacha, you don't have the halacha of the daled varm. An ox that attacks a person doesn't have to pay tzar, ripo, sheves, and boishes. How does Rabbi Kiva know that halacha? So Rabbi Kiva says that's because it says in the halachos of nezek, tzar, ripo, sheves, and boishes, it says ish ki yitin mum ba misai. When a man hurts another person, he has to pay the 5 things. So it's only if a man hurts another person, not if an ox hurts another person. Now, why is that not enough of the Rabbanan? So the Rabbanan say that's only talking about the halachos of tsar. Ripoy, sheves, and boishes, or at least ripoy and sheves, you don't have from there. The boishes we know from other reasons, but the sheves but the ripoy and the sheves you can't see from there, and therefore you need the pasuk of azeh. Rashi explains the reason that ripoy and sheves is different because it involves a monetary loss. The victim actually loses money. So you would think that therefore the owner of the cow has to pay for that, he has to pay for the loss. But the tsar and the baishas, where there's no actual loss, so maybe the owner is pater for that, and that is different than the ripoy and sheves. So now we get to our next Mishnah, which is an example of a case of a shor tam that's mazik a sharmud. The example is that the nizik was worth 200 mana or 200 zuz, and the nevela is not worth anything, so it's a loss of 200. The mazik is only worth 100. So the entire value of the mazik is equal to the chatzi nezik that he has to pay. So the halacha is, the Mishnah says, the nizik just takes the mazik, it's worth the chatzi, and therefore he gets the whole thing. The Gemara introduces a machlekes between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shmuel. The Gemara says that this Mishnah seems to take sides in that machlekes. Machlekes is, when a tam has to pay, how do we say that he pays? He pays migufay. What does it mean that he pays? Does he actually give him the actual ox, or does he just give him the value, the money that the ox is worth? The case would be like our case, that the entire value of the ox that was the mazik is equal to the chati nezik that he owes, the full amount. Now our Mishnah clearly seems to say he gives him the ox, which would be the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, because that's what it holds. Rabbi Shmuel says you actually give him the money. Now, what is the machlekes based on? So the Gemara says the pasuk describing a hezek, they're talking about an ox worth 200 that it doesn't a hezek of it 200. So you have to give away half the ox. So it says and you sell the living ox, meaning the masik, and you split the money. So Rabbi Shmuel says we're talking to the Beis Din, and we're saying that the value of the ox is divided. You give 100 zuz to the mazik, 100 zuz to the nizik, and that's how you split it. You split the value. Rabbi Akiva learns that you actually split it between the nizik and the mazik. The nizik and the mazik each are partners in the ox, and therefore one takes one half, the other takes the other half, but they own the ox b'shutfus. And here, where it's the full value of the ox goes to the nizik, he takes the whole thing. Now, what's a practical nafkamina between these two opinions? Either way, if it's not worth the whole ox, you're going to have to sell the ox. So Gemara says, nafkamina is if the nizik goes ahead and he's makdash the ox, is there any significance to that? If he owns half the value of the ox, he owns his part of the value of the ox, he could be makdash it. If it belongs to the mazik, but the mazik has to pay him, then it will not be chal that he was makdash it. Now, Ashayla, the Gemara says, Rava asks Rav Nachman, can the mazik sell the ox? Now, according to Rabbi Akiva, who says that he actually owns the ox, the nizik owns the ox, certainly the mazik can't go and sell him. However, according to Rabbi Shmuel, says he really only owes him money, but the ox is meshubit to it, there's like a lien on the ox. Can the mazik go and sell it, or do we say there's a lien on it, you can't sell it, any sale that you'll do with it is invalid? So he answered him that he's not allowed to sell the ox. So I'm going to ask, there's a price that says that if he sells it, the sale is valid, but the nizik can go collect the ox from the buyer. So Umar says, well, if he can go collect it from the buyer, so to what extent is what's valid about the sale? They're just going to lose it again when the nizik comes to collect from it. So Umar says the validity is that he can use it to plow in the meantime. He doesn't have to give the money, the rental for plowing to the nizik when he comes to collect it. It's not his. He did buy it, the buyer, and it's his until it's taken away from him. So the Gemara says, you see from here that there can be a lien on metaltalin. If somebody borrows money and then he sells his metaltalin, you can go collect that metaltalin from him. But that's strange because the halacha generally is you can only use karka, you can only use land as a lien, not metaltalin. Somebody says, this is different because it's like an apoitiki. It's like that the Torah specifically said you're going to collect the ox. It's like a loan where it was specifically made to collect from a certain object. That object you can take away from a buyer. You're not allowed to sell that object. Samara asks, but Rava says that you can make an evid into an apoitiki. You can't make an ox into an apoitiki. Here you're allowed to make an ox into an apoitiki. So the Gemara says the reason that the Eved is permitted is because everyone knows that you sold your Eved. There is a coil to it. It becomes famous. Word travels that you sold an Eved. Therefore, the buyer will know not to buy it because you'll lose it. However, in our case here, even on the shar, there is an apoitiki. And the apoitiki has a coil, because everyone knows about the goring. Because you have to warn him, you have to have a whole case out of it. Everyone calls it a nakhan, so it's well known, and therefore the buyer should know better than to buy it. And if he does go ahead and he buys it, he accepts the risk. Now, on this topic, the Gemara says a brisa was said by Rav Tachlifa from Eretz Yisrael in front of Rabbi Avo. The brisa has seemingly contradictory phrases, and I was going to try to explain it. It says if someone sells the ox, it is not chal, the sale is no good, but if he's makdish it is good. So selling is no good, hektish is. Why should that be? It seems contradictory. So the Gemara goes through who is the one who sells it as makdish it, and who is the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel or Rabbi Kiva. So first, let's try that the mazik sells it, and the mazik is makdish it. So you say that the sale is no good. That fits the sheet of Rabbi Kiva, who says you have to give the ox, and therefore the sale is no good. If that's true, so then why should the hektish be good? That sounds like Rabbi Shmuel, who says you could be makdish it. According to Rabbi Kiva, if the mazik is makdish it should be meaningless because he has to give the actual ox. So therefore the Gemara says, well, maybe it's a nizik who's makdish it, so now, and who sells it and is makdish it. So now it's flipped. If you say that the sale is no good, so according to Rabbi Shmuel it's no good because the ox doesn't belong to the nizik, it belongs to the mazik. But if that's true, so then how come when he's makdish it is good? Rabbi Shmuel holds that when you're makdish it, if the nizik is makdish it, it's no good. That sounds like Rabbi Kiva, who says that it belongs to the nizik and it could be makdish it. So the Gemara therefore says, okay, we're going to go back to the first pshat. Really, we're referring to the mazik. And the mazik is the one who sells it and is makdish it, and everybody agrees that if he sells it, the sale is no good. Even Rabbi Shmuel, who says that you only have to give the money, but the mazik actually owns it, the sale is no good because there's a shibud on it, and he has to be able to pay with it. Like we said before, the sale is no good. It's only good as far as being able to plow it, but you're going to lose it if the nizik comes to collect it from you. However, hektish, it is mukdash. And the mazik and the nizik can't come take it away from hektish. And the reason is because, like Rabbi Avo said in a different sugya, if you let the nizik come and take it from hektish, people are going to think you could just take hektish to chulin, you could just take it away from hektish without pidyon, without a redemption. And that's a wrong halacha, so therefore we're not going to allow that. Now we get another brisa, and this discusses what happens if the ownership of the shor is transferred away to someone else, and the different stages of when he is chayev. So we'll speak about a shor tam after the hezek happens, but before the court case begins. Then we'll talk about after the court case begins, and then we'll talk about a shor hamud. We'll also talk about if it's sold, if it's hektish, or if someone comes to collect it in a pre-existing obligation. So the Brisa says as follows: if you have a short time that was mazik, before it's taken to court, before the obligation is established, so if you sold it, the sale is valid. If you makdish it, the hektish is valid. If you shecht it, the shchita is valid because it all belongs to the owner. If it was given as a gift, the gift is chal. Meaning before you go to court, no obligation is established, therefore it most certainly belongs to the mazik, and everything he does with it is valid. However, after you go to court and it's established the obligation, if he sells it, the sale is void. In makdish it, the hektish is void. This opinion holds there is no Rabbi Avo. If you shecht it, the shchita is void also, and you give it as a gift, it's canceled, it's not worth anything. Now, third thing, if other people who are owed money by this mazik come and take it away, they collect it. So now, whether the obligation existed before the hezek or whether it came into existence after the hezek, it's no good because you have to collect the payment from the guf of this thing. They can't come and take that away. And the last case is if it's a muad, so now it makes no difference. Since a muad pays minalia, it pays from the general property of the mazik, not from the value of the shor itself. So it doesn't matter before the hezek, after the hezek, before the hamad b'din, after the hamad b'din, any sale that you do or hektish that you do, shchita or giving away as a gift or collection by a Baal Chayv, it's all valid. And again, that's because the shor is the simple property of the mazik. He just has an obligation to pay. The Gemara now proceeds to analyze this brisa case by case. So first we said in the case of the shor tam that if he sold it, the sale is valid. That means that as far as plowing, obviously he could lose it to the nizik if it comes to collect. However, he's allowed to plow with it. He doesn't have to pay rental for it in the meantime. It's given as a gift, it's valid. Then I understand that if he gives the gift, it belongs to the one who receives it. Now, to what extent? To the fact that he could use it for plowing. However, he is going to lose it if the nizik comes and claims it. Now, shchita, he said the shchita is valid. What does that mean the shchita is valid? Why doesn't the nizik just come and take the shar away, take the meat, the slaughtered ox, away from the one who slaughtered it? What's valid about it? That sounds like it stays in the reshus of the mazik. Why should that be? So our answer is what it means. It stays in the reshus of the mazik to the extent that the loss in value of a living shar to a slaughtered shar, that value the nizik loses. He's not going to get it. The value of the ox is now limited, and that's as much as he could collect as far as migufay. Now, the Gemara just had proven that he can collect from the meat because it says in a brisa, it says chai, that the hashar chai, that would imply that he can only split the value of the mazik while it's still alive. But it says in marchas hashar, you could sell the actual ox and split the value. It makes no difference if it's alive or if it's dead. Sell it under all circumstances. Yeah, it says Rav Huna Breder Rav Yishua. We learn from here that if somebody is mazik someone else's shiba, someone else's lien, someone has a lien on a field, and someone is mazik the field, he doesn't have to pay anything because the field didn't belong to him at the time. He just had a lien on it, and being mazik, something you have a lien on, that's not a thing that he actually owned yet, and therefore you don't have to pay for that. Somewhere says obviously you could see that over here because the guy shechted the cow. There was a lien on the cow. He went and he shechted and devalued it, and he doesn't have to make up the difference in the value. So the Gemara says it's pashut that you can learn that from here. What's a chiddush? What does he need to point it out to me? Gemara says no, there is a difference. In that case, you would perhaps say that all he has in it is a obligation. He has a link that he has to pay from the thing, but he doesn't actually own it. I would think generally, like a case like this, he would need to pay. So the Gemara says, but Rabbah said that halacha also. Rabbah said if somebody burns a shtar that someone else owns, and the shtar is for him to collect, and now he can't collect, so he was mazik his ability to collect. So he's pater on that also. So that's the same as this here. So Gemara says, now that would be different, because over there, he didn't really burn anything. It's just the paper that he had. He destroyed the paper. So you may think it's just the paper, there's no actual value in what he destroyed. But here he actually went, he took the field, and he made holes in it, so he actually destroyed it. So there, it's a mazik b'yadayim, you would think that he would have to be chayev for that. And what we see here is that in our case, the fact that he shechted it is just like the case of digging holes in the field. He actually went and physically changed the shart, and yet he doesn't need to pay for it, and therefore you could learn a chiddush from there. Same halacha, you could be mazik the shibud, and you don't owe anything for it. Now, the last halacha we had seen in the brisa was that if the mazik owed money to someone else and he came in and took away the shar, it's no good. And that's whether the hezek happened before the loan to him or the loan happened first, meaning whether his zechus came before that of the nizik or after that of the nizik. So the Gemara asks, if his loan is first, why should he not be able to grab it away? His loan was first. And even if his loan was a second, he came and grabbed it first. So the halacha should be that if you grab a property that's owed to you and to someone else, you get to keep it. Why should we take it away from him? Now we had a question, if that's true, whether or not if you're owed and someone else is owed and you grab it first, if you get to keep it. So this would seem to be a proof to one side or the other. That would be sure that there should be a proof to that, because that was a question that remained unresolved. Apparently there's no proof from here. So the Gemara answers, no, this case is different. Even if ordinarily you wouldn't be allowed to, even if ordinarily you would be allowed to keep it, here you would not be allowed to keep it, and it would go back, because he could say, I would have grabbed it wherever it was, whether it would be by you or he would have collected it from you, I could have grabbed it anyway, and therefore I have a right to keep it.